Sup nerds, I'm Tom.
I'm Wes.
We're taking a look at Helionox, we're taking a look at this game.
So at its core, Helionox is a deck builder, but it's doing some unique things with it. Because not only are you building your deck and there's the different factions you can buy from, but you also have your ship, which should be a mini, it's a token, but we'll let that slide for now. And you're moving to these different bases using your deck to not only buy better cards, but you're actually fighting off these events. I guess you could say fighting off.
Yeah, you overcome them, but in a co-op type way, you're getting rid of those things that are constantly popping up in the board state.
Absolutely. So the thing I liked most about that is just that it was different. I feel like so many deck builders, they change little things here and there, they kind of make little goals, but at its core, it's you get your money in your defense or your money in your attack, and you spend your money and you spend your attack, and then you buy more cards and you shuffle it back together and you just keep cycling, trying to build and streamline the best deck. This just has a whole other mechanic of moving around that makes it different. I think that if you're going to use a mechanic that's been used so many times like deck building, you need to find something to make it unique. Find something to make it its own game.
I would most closely liken this game to Xenon Profiteer, to Plank, to Tyrants of the Underdark, where you take a deck building game and morph it with another game. And actually, if we were to start listing off the reasons why this game is different from other deck builders, we could kind of sit here for a little while. Because you have, you can burn a card that's in the market. Everybody can do that. You have the, not only just the events and the moving around, but you can plant embassies and move around with your currency. So that does increase the options you have on your turn. When you purchase something, it goes on the top of your deck. So the draw manipulation is really big and powerful. So ultimately, this is much less of a deck builder than any other deck builder game I've ever seen, because there's so many other things going on that the deck building almost becomes an aside. I'm not so much worried about building a deck that synergizes well and that works really well as much as I am worrying about a deck that can handle the events that are necessary, that can get me to move where I need to go, that have enough points in there. Sometimes I've won games just by buying the cards that have the most points, whether they were right for my deck or not.
And I've even played games where I barely ever actually buy cards. Each player has an architect, which is kind of your character you're playing as, that has built-in abilities that you can use, and depending on if you use the 1 or 2 level, that's how long it takes to basically recharge and you get to use it again. So that has just kind of blended well with 1 or 2 cards I've bought in the base deck that I was able to do most of the game without purchasing almost any cards. And so you really have to play that of getting points by canceling these events, getting points because there's these overall objectives where you just try to plant embassies on every planet, and then buy a couple good like strong high point cards. So there's definitely multiple paths to victory, and like you said, it's not just a deck builder game. It's a game that has a deck building component to it.
Because you can win by just purchasing really high point cards, if from the get-go you go really hard into the the purchasing currency, or if you go really hard into the defeating currency, both paths lead to a high potential for points. So it definitely is like, there are a lot of games where I say, well, in Legendary or any of the Realms games or something, you say, well, I definitely go money first. Buy money first, buy like 4 or 5 money cards first, and then try your best to stop doing that and go and buy damage cards. Because if you just buy money for too much, eventually that'll become, well, I can buy all these cards, but now my deck's too big, I can't overcome what I need to, it's not working. This game really doesn't have that. It really lets you, there's no like ideal path to victory. You can really broaden out, and your chance of winning is just as good as somebody who didn't do the path that you took.
Our biggest point with that is that it's a deck builder, but don't think, I have enough deck builders. Don't think, well, with like the Realms games, Hero Realms, Star Realms, Cthulhu Realms, you don't need all 3. You can have all 3, we have all 3. But you can just kind of pick and choose of, well, that's my deck builder. And that wouldn't negate this game. I don't think there are deck builders out there that you would say, I have this game, so I don't need this game.
Let me just go ahead and say, Legendary, DC deck building, the Star Realms, Thunderstone, Ascension,
Dominion.
Penny Arcade. Like, where do how much is too much?
Yeah.
Like, when in all those, there's 7 that I just listed there. you could have 2 or 3 and that'd be fine. But this doesn't take up one of those slots.
Speaking of taking up slots, this box, super small. It can fit on anyone's game shelf. You can tuck it in between boxes or whatever. It's nice. It's nice that it comes in a small box. It's bad that it comes in a small box. So one box gives you enough for a 2-player game. Getting 2 core sets lets you play up to 4 players, which is, they're both good. Like, if you can just start with a 2-player game, it's great.
Fine. It's solid.
The game does scale great up to more players as well. But if you're going to sleeve your game, which, let's be honest, if you play deck builders, you need to sleeve your games. With sleeving 2 copies of this game, this box is worthless. Let's just be honest. That will probably be one of my biggest drawbacks to the game.
I feel like, it's a good selling point to say it's a small box game, and when it's just a 2-player, it kind of is.
Yeah.
But it really, it's up on that line, and then once you jump to 4 players, it crosses over that line. And there's a lot of different cards, so you have like a lot of different decks essentially, so it is really easy to get stuff mixed up. Sorting is a big issue. How do you package it back when you have these, like, all these different types of starter cards and then these different types of decks and these different types of events? It becomes a big issue. So with a box this small, it's just not usable. Ultimately. The only other negative I do have is what Wes already touched on earlier, is that your ship is a little token. It would be a lot better if it was a mini, just one for differentiation. It does kind of sort of look like your embassy token a little bit. There's a lot of tokens floating around. They're all the same size, kind of sort of the same color. It would be nice to differentiate. And I understand this is being sold as a small box game. While I believe it should be a bigger box, it's that reason, probably for the price point, trying to get the cost down. But really, I think this game is good enough that if it was a big box game, if it was sold that way, if it was sold as 1 to 4 players instead of just needing to get 2 core sets, I would buy it. It's solid enough that this could be a big box deck building game.
Absolutely. And I think another reason for that is it was a Kickstarter game. Maybe they had hopes that if they raised enough money, they could turn these into miniatures. Maybe in future campaigns they can. The only other thing I'll say about components, and it's not as much a complaint, but just something I noticed, is that all of the individual player components are double-sided. So this is a red player's embassy and a green player's embassy, which is nice that it helps keep the small box. Everything is more versatile. But if you are playing a 4-player game and you're playing where someone's playing with both sides, I can see how it can be frustrating if something like gets bumped or flipped over and you're trying to figure out whose is whose, whom's.
Whom's is whom's. Whomsy whom's.
It's not a huge deal, but just something to take note of.
Now, there is a co-op variant to this game that actually we didn't play, mainly because we didn't feel like it was necessary. I was enjoying the game so much that I in no way felt like, ooh, I want to experience this in a different way. I want to try it as a co-op. No, I just want to play it again.
Yeah, and I would say I like co-ops, but I'm a naturally competitive person, and I feel like I appreciate the fact that even though we're both trying to kill these together, I'm trying to kill them better than you. I'm looking at, I could kill this one now, but that's going to let him do that thing, so I'm going to hold off on this one for now. I think that I appreciated that method of thinking more than how can we beat this together.
Overall, we do have a few small complaints with the game, but that would in no way deter me from playing it again or from recommending it to you. If you like deck builders, or even if you're getting a little bit of a deck building fatigue, I would definitely recommend you check this out, because not only is it going to scratch that deck building itch, but it's going to do it in a much different way, non-sexually.
So if you So if you all are interested in this game, we're going to have a purchase link in the description box down below. While you're down there, make sure you leave us a little comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you have any questions. Let us know that our purple shirts look good, whatever.
Yeah,
let us know if you can hear my baby in the background.
And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe so you'll never be bored. I understand, again, this is trying to be sold as, ooh.
For components, and it's not...
You have to do it to each of us.
It was different. So many deck builders are just... there's...
About to get a whooping, boy.